Hello. Welcome back. It's another Friday here with Dannphan. Yeah, I wasn't really sure if I was gonna have to cancel it or not, but we made it. We made it to the stream, the weekly streams, but they're only weekly if I don't have to cancel them. Ah, man. Well, I have some good updates, so I guess we can start off with those. First of all, fantastically, I am feeling much better, especially compared to last week. The whole alkaline sickness thing. Ugh. Finally, I'm waking up without a stomach ache, and I can eat full meals again. So, good signs. Man, what a weird 2 weeks that was of just feeling nauseous and being unable to eat. So glad that is over. But yeah. And just in time, too, because we got another comic convention this weekend. It's kind of a surprise comic convention. We didn't know that we were going to go to this one. It's the Mid-Hudson Comic Con. First time ever going there. There's a bit of a story behind it, I guess. Vaughn got a table there, ended up not being able to go, so we figured, okay, well, we'll just buy the table from you, and if so long as that's okay with the organizer, of course, we'll table there in your place. So yeah, I guess we're going to another. It's a surprise convention with Dannphan as a guest. Woo! Right? So since it's our first time, I guess we'll be able to see if it's good or not when we get there. It's quite a drive, but that's fine, I guess. The issue is just that it means I'm going to have to wake up super early in the morning to get there and get set up and everything, which is a little bit of a pain, but that's fine. It's all fine. We could also, I guess, go tonight because they let you set up the day before. No, we wouldn't make it in time, so we have to set up in the morning. It's already too late. Oh well, that's fine. But yeah, another surprise convention. We were also thinking we would go to the Garden State, Vineland Comic Con. That's another one that we haven't gone to before, but we heard from other people that it was okay, so figured maybe we'll give it a shot, see how that is. And then additionally, we're going back to BasedCon, because Adam likes hanging out there. I guess he more so likes the attendees that go there, just shooting the shit with them. But we do make a lot of sales, of course, at BasedCon. A lot of actual readers go there, so that's useful. That's very helpful when it comes to trying to cover the cost. But yeah, if you were planning on also getting your ticket to BasedCon, they gave us a coupon code that I could share through my channel. But it's really weird because usually when someone is giving you a code to like share with your followers, it's usually just your username. But I guess he didn't know my username. He just made the code Trisha, I think. He just made it my first name. It's like, all right, I guess that's fine. It's a little bit weird, right? It's like, use code Trisha to get your BasedCon ticket. Ugh. But yeah. I would have set up the stream earlier. I didn't know that that we were going to have the stream, honestly. I thought it was going to get canceled, but everything turned out a-okay as it seems. So yeah, planning on the convention this weekend. It is last minute, so I don't think I'm as prepared for it as I should have been. I did do like a tiny caffeine detox today, so hopefully that'll help me sleep and get up to much earlier. Good Lord, I'm gonna have to wake up super early to actually go to this thing on time. It's interesting seeing how conventions and how they're organized change over the years depending on the people who go there. I should at some point make a video talking about going to conventions and like, mistakes I see some people make and ways to save money and, talking about taboos that you're not supposed to do there, stuff like that. Because I think a lot of people are still very blindsided by what the experience tabling at a convention is actually going to be like. There's also some people at these conventions that drive us crazy. They drive everyone crazy, if we're being completely honest. So that would be good to point out and be like, hey, don't be like this. Please don't be like this. Act appropriate. I have had a few weird run-ins with people at conventions. Normally not, right? Every now and then people ask me like, oh man, you're like a girl on YouTube, therefore you must run into a lot of weirdos, right? It's like, yes, I've run into weirdos. It has happened, but I don't think that's been the majority of my experience. It's like a handful of weirdos that I've run into, It's a little bit weirder when it happens like in person. The first thing that I think of, though, it's not even a fan who was being weird with me. It was just some guy. Just some guy who didn't know about the YouTube channel or anything. He was just being weird. I think I already talked about that guy on the channel before in another live stream, but I guess I could mention it again. There's this one guy, it was at a convention in New York. I forget which one, though. I forget what it was called. I think it was the same one with the green dot incident. That was a whole thing. But he was like a photographer taking like pictures of all the cosplay people for their Instagram, right? So professional stuff. Obviously, the cosplays were a little bit saucy, as you can imagine. And he'd come by the table before, didn't really say much, was kind of to himself. And then as soon as Adam leaves to do something else, he leaves to go take a walk around and talk to other people tabling at the convention or something. Photographer guy comes back to me and then is trying to essentially convince me to do saucy cosplay. It's like, where did this come from? It's like, well, not to be bold, but you have the body for it. And it's like, whoa, that is too bold. Stop right there. Yeah, no. Please don't. Like I said, he didn't know about the YouTube channel or anything. It's just like some guy checking out my bod and being like, yeah, I want to take pictures of her. I think what's most frustrating about it is the fact that he waits until Adam leaves, like, my boyfriend. Like, he's trying to get me to go behind my boyfriend's back to agree to do OnlyFans cosplays. It was a very weird experience. And all I could really do is awkwardly smile, like, I don't know about that. Leave, please. But yeah, that was a thing that happened. I can't even blame that on YouTube, though, because it was just some guy out in the open. I had like another weird experience with just some guy out in the open. before I even did YouTube. It was like at a mall during my teenager years. That's a whole other thing. There's a whole other like outside of YouTube discussion to be had about weird guys I've encountered in real life. I think maybe for some people, they assume, of course, YouTube is going to add to it because you're exposing yourself to more people overall, anyway. I don't know. It hasn't been the majority of my experience on YouTube, just constantly running into weirdos. At the very least, weirdos who are very aggressive. I have run into a few, like a handful, but the majority of people on the channel are pretty cool, honestly. You're all pretty chill overall. It's just every now and then. It's just like a more rare experience that you get the crazies out there. Yeah, everyone runs into weirdos at some point. That's true. At some point, you are going to eventually in life run into a weirdo. He found his muse. Yeah, I guess so. But yeah. And then there's other like I think the fans that I've met in person have been more what word would I use? It's like well behaved. They've been like the more normal people that I've met at the convention. Sometimes you get these teenagers, mostly teenage girls, very rarely teenage guys for whatever reason. A lot of teenage girls will just be very like loud and a little bit reckless at these conventions because I guess they're, I don't know, hopped up on caffeine and sugar and they just want to wreak havoc. They'll very often just like start grabbing things and knocking things over like kids, and they are kids, they're teenagers, but it is a little bit difficult to like deal with on the spot. There are also additionally kids that do go to these conventions, which is why it's really frustrating when people have not safe for work art just out and about. I've had this discussion like on another stream too. They're talking about this other mangaka who's in Australia, actually. I think it was Australia. But it's the norm for conventions there to have any and all not safe for work material behind like a curtain, like a well-displayed curtain, like this is where you go for the saucy stuff. Enter the curtain and then come out and don't show anyone what you got, right? But then at other conventions, it's just kind of splayed out. And for the most part, people don't usually get in trouble for it. It does seem like there has been some rule changes, at least for the Garden State Comic Fests. I did notice that they're starting to be more specific in their rules about what content is allowed at the conventions, because I can imagine that they may have gotten some complaints, maybe. I don't think I complained to the organizer directly, but I did have a few words with Adam, I guess. So now they're saying, okay, no work that's completely generated by AI, right? That makes sense. Additionally, they were like, if you have any not safe for work material, the nudity has to be covered up. Obviously, like you have to like put a sticker on it or something so that nobody, which is once again reasonable, very reasonable. And the third thing that I felt the need to point out when I was looking at the rules is no tables are supposed to play their own music loudly, which I like. I like that rule. call me uptight if you want. I can understand if you want to listen to your own personal music. Maybe you have like earplugs or something. That's fine. That's all fine. What's really annoying is when you're trying to talk to customers, trying to sell to people and talk to them about your projects, and the person right next to you has the loudest fucking speaker turned towards your table, blasting the shittiest music you've ever heard in your life. It's mind-blowing. It drives me crazy. Ugh. So yeah, that's another thing. That's another rule that they added, and I like that rule. That's a good rule. I forget all the other rules. There was like a whole list that they were trying to introduce, you know, try to set a new standard for screen went dark for a second there. That's fine. That's fine. But yeah, I like that they're adding the new rules. I'm not a really stingy type of anti-rule person. It's just that it has to be reasonable. That's it. It just has to be reasonable. And I know that everyone has their own opinion on what's reasonable or what's not, or what they like and what they don't, but it is what it is, you know? Playing music out loud should only be allowed in concerts. Yeah, well, the convention itself will always have music playing. They have their own music that they're just playing at the con. But then individual people at their tables will start blasting like their whatever music, their personal playlist. And it's fine in theory, but it's too loud. There's just way too much noise pollution in the area, and you can't hear anybody, and you can't have conversations. It's too much. So I think it's much better to have that rule than to not. Anyways. Yeah, seems like a good policy just to be safe. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no AI, cool, no, it's not been standard, no music, perfect. I mean, essentially. The AI thing is a real conventions because I mean, I understand the thought process. People are like, oh, well, why can't I just hit button and make money? I want to hit button and make money. That sounds so easy. It sounds so nice, right? But the issue is when people go to these conventions pretending that they're an artist and selling AI generated work, as soon as like other people catch on and they realize that they essentially got scammed, they're going to feel like they've been wronged, and they're going to feel like they can't trust the convention. They're going to feel like they can't trust anyone else at the convention. So it salts the field so that everyone there makes less money and the convention gets less attendees. It's a whole problem, right? You're going to Artist Alley to directly support artists. That is the appeal of it. The appeal is, oh, not only can I discover like new art by whatever people here, but I get to also meet the artist and have this personal connection when making the sale, you know, and talk to them about like their art journey and stuff like that. You know, there's a real experience that goes behind Artist Alley. It's not just, I want pretty wall art, therefore I go to Artist Alley. Like, anyone can buy pretty wall art. That's not why they're going to the convention. It's all about the discovery and the experience meeting the person behind it. And I understand sometimes big artists have proxies that they use to sell their work for them. Sometimes people just aren't very good salespeople, right? And then they go to the convention, and even though their work is good, they can't sell it, so they need like a salesperson to do it for them. Fine. I get it. It's not the same, right? I probably wouldn't want to buy from a proxy, not unless the art was so good I had to have it at all costs. I probably would prefer to buy directly from the artist. That's my personal preference on that. But yeah. Why don't you release comic review these days? Where are the good stuff? Well, I just released a positive review this week, actually. I released the Common America review. That was positive. I mean, I have some more comics that I've been reading that I think are pretty good. I'd like to sit down and do reviews of them. I wanted to, at some point, do a review of Phenomenova, but I gotta be honest, I'm not really sure what issue I should read up to until it feels like I can give a really good, meaty review of it, right? Because you kind of do have to get pretty far into a series before you have a general idea of how you feel about it, especially with a lot of, I guess, how would I say, Americanized comics, where sometimes not that much happens in a single issue. Sometimes you could even write off an issue as though it's a little bit of filler, right? Sometimes issues are just straight up filler. But yeah, so I've had like some of those where I'm like, no, I should probably wait a bit until I have a good idea of where the series is heading, until I have a better idea of it in general. Because I like to do reviews of things that I understand. It's very difficult to get out a review of something where you have a lot of questions, because it feels like you can't really say that much about it. Yeah, trying to get better at being a salesperson at cons. Yeah, me too. Me too. People be surprised to hear I don't consider myself a very good salesperson, especially at cons. Like, I don't consider myself to be a good salesperson on YouTube, but at cons, I'm even worse. I'm completely locked up, silent, looking at Adam like, please, help, sell my comic for me. Man, sometimes it's even worse because it's so easy to be insecure about something that you made. So easy. Oh my god, especially when you're in the process of trying to improve your art and trying to get closer and closer to a professional level. But then you look at the printed work that you're trying to sell, and it's not even close to the stuff that you're putting out now. But even the stuff that you're putting out now is not where you want to be. There's layers of issues there, right? But yeah, it's hard. It's really, there's so much pressure with selling in person. So I understand why some artists would rather just have a salesperson there to sell for them. But obviously, it's much better at conventions to actually get to meet the artist behind the artwork. Feels good. It feels like a real experience. It feels like it was worth like admission to even get into the convention, because you get to meet the artist and discover their work. So that's just kind of my take on it. I don't know. Yeah, Phenomenova did just came out. Yes, I read through it last night. It was okay. Looks like we are introducing the romance section of Phenomenova. Not opposed, of course. I like some romance sprinkled into my action comics. I almost feel like it's necessary for something to have just a little sprinkle. It doesn't have to be a full-on shoujo. It doesn't have to go that far. Maybe just a little sprinkle. Just a little something. Something for us romance fans to eat up, right? Uh, man. Will you consider reviewing popular YouTuber webcomics? That's an interesting question. You know, I did used to review certain webcomics. I even used to do like these reviews of comics posted on Webtoon that were not bad at the time. Some people forget about that because they just look at whatever earliest videos I've done and they see the videos of me live reacting to Webtoon originals and they're like, oh my god, how could she, right? But no, I did do a couple positive reviews of Webtoon back in the day. Usually they were Canvas, right? Webtoon Canvas, because that's where all like the indie people are actually posting on. And let me see. The one that I remember the most was Red Comet Drive. That one was fun. But there were a couple other ones, and I also was like searching to see if there were any other like webcomic people still posting stuff on their own website. I did find a couple webcomic people that were doing that at the time. Although now it kind of feels like it's not really worth it. There was a period in time where like everyone gave you the advice you need your own website to post your webcomic. And now you probably are fine with just posting it on Comic Fury or social media. You know, now it doesn't really seem as important to invest the money in getting your own website. The advice changes so drastically depending on the time period, but I'm not posting my own webcomics, so I can't really give solid advice as far as like where is actually a good place to post it. I've heard mixed reviews of a bunch of different places. But yeah, I'm glad I've never had to sell anything. I'd probably melt when I attended our country's first real attempt at a con. I had to hide behind my camera to make it through. People thought I was press. That's funny. Hi, Dannphan. How are you and Mr. Adam doing this week? Also, what thoughts on the Avatar movie? I heard it's pretty mid. Good animation, weak story with questionable characterization. That's what I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it. Part of the reason why is because I kept on hearing that it was mid. There are a couple clips that I've seen and critiques that a couple of people have given that seem like red flags. Like characters not seeming as strong all of a sudden, even though we've witnessed the original Avatar series where they like grew to be super duper strong to the point of like taking out an army, right? But then like the movie comes around and people are like, oh, they don't really seem that strong anymore. It's kind of hard to believe, I guess. Another thing is I keep on seeing these clips of Sokka, adult Sokka in this movie, and he's acting so goofy. It's so over the top goofy, and I see that and I'm like recoiling, like, no, don't do that. I want, when I see kid characters badass grow up, I want to see them be even more badass. Call me crazy. Call me nuts. But that is my general opinion on that discussion. I don't know if I should even bother giving it a watch now that I've seen the reviews and everyone's like, no, it's not good, it's not worth seeing, it's just mid. Although I guess you could argue that mid is not that bad, considering how a lot of new stuff gets completely thrashed for just being straight up bad, right? You're saying Avatar Aang is just mid? That's probably about as good as we're gonna get for the Avatar franchise at this point. It's never going to be as good as the original series, right? That's at least everyone's takeaway from it. is that, okay, give up, it's never going to be as good as the original series. I get it. It's whatever. Yeah. The idea of selling to someone gives me major anxiety. I'd rather make my stuff from my little artist cave and toss it at a potential buyers from afar. Yes, I would love to do that. I've made this joke occasionally. I wouldn't do YouTube. If I were to rewind time, I wouldn't do YouTube. I would probably just focus on getting better at art, just focus on actually picking a career instead of being like all over the place for the first couple of years where I was doing YouTube. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, right? I wish I had been focusing on comics from the beginning, focusing on just getting good at my art, honing my craft, building an audience. And it doesn't have to be building an audience from like the wacky dacky YouTube reviews, but if I had focused on that from the beginning and I didn't, I could just throw my stuff online and they would just sell, that would be peak. That would be awesome. One of the things that I was maybe a little bit spicy about when Corey Kenshin, he released his manga, and good for him. A lot of people never release the story that they have in their head. They just keep it in their head, and then nothing ever comes of it. But he actually did for the effort of producing it, and that's admirable at the very least. But yeah, he disappeared for like a year, I think it was, and then came back, had a manga ready to sell, ready to go, sold a shit ton. And part of me looks at that and I'm like, if only I was that person. Like, I'm not shy about it at all. I do have like a little tinge of envy, like, oh man, if only I could just stop making YouTube content and just like come back after a year when I have everything figured out and just throw my comic at the internet and have it take off the way that some of these other people have it take off. That would be the best. Now, granted, I know a lot of you really like the content, and I don't have any plans, at least not anytime soon, to stop making YouTube content, so you can relax as far as that goes. But man, I really like making comics. As much as I like making the YouTube content, it is only at best second place to the making comics portion of my life. Otakon is happening this weekend. Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe Vaughn is going to that. Maybe that's why he sold this at Stable. I don't know. But yeah, thought the Avatar fighting game kind of surprised. Yeah, I saw some people playing that on like live streams and stuff. That was interesting. I honestly didn't even think that it was real at first. I thought it might have been a fan game because it's just so random, right? But it makes sense. Logically, it makes sense because there's a lot of Avatar news out. So they think, well, maybe this is a good time to like keep the Avatar hype train rolling. Because you had Netflix Avatar Season 2, then Avatar Aang movie like immediately after, almost anyway. And then we have the brand new apocalyptic Avatar series also launching up. Why not just also release a game at the same time? That'll keep people talking about Avatar. I mean, people are. They're still talking about Avatar, so it's not wrong. But yeah. Yeah, I need to look at the Avatar movie myself to see how it is. Obviously the reviews don't give me a lot of hope. I am the type of person who is affected by what they hear in the reviews. But even mid is better than some of the other content we've gotten. I want to really rewatch the original Avatar: The Last Airbender series, because all this Avatar news that's coming out, it just makes me think, oh man, I gotta rewatch that series. I think, I think maybe some of us took for granted how good it was. Not to say it was perfect. There are some like very reasonable complaints people have about how the last season wrapped things up, or lack of wrapping things up. But in comparison to a lot of media that we consider the norm now, I think yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender really was a treasured series. Even at the time, it was really phenomenal. Crazy. Yeah, Avatar is becoming people with powers and flashy animation, kind of losing the bending aspect. Yeah, I noticed that a lot in the Netflix show, especially the live action show, is people just bending like this, just holding out hand. It's like, what? You gotta move. You gotta, whoo, right? That's like the whole thing, is that you're moving. Yeah, that is a whole other. That's a whole other aspect. Good complaint, I think, because you should hold them to that standard. That is the rule that they set up in like the first series, is that you're supposed to be like moving your chi around or something to bend. I don't know what the proper explanation is, but you're like forcing your chi to move in a certain way, which allows you to bend. I think they can also meditate to bend, but it's a very like specific type of bending that you can do when you're meditating. Because obviously like the firebenders can, do the fire breathing thing, right? And Aang can like meditate to have like the air ball just appear around him. But that's different. I'm giving that a pass, right? I'll say different type of bending when you're like just meditative bending, as opposed to actually trying to direct type of bending, Let me see what the comments have to say. Avatar Aang was disappointing. I came away wondering what the message was and why this movie had to exist. And yes, what they did to Sokka was awful. He was more than a jokey goofball. He is a leader. Yep. No, absolutely. I really liked Sokka in the original. He was a good character. Like the Flanderization of him over the years, where people choose to only remember his goofy moments. Sometimes he was goofy, yeah, but his character was genuinely deeper than that, and he did do hella cool shit in the series. He was a cool character, and he was a leader. He did take charge. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like modern writers have completely forgotten about that. It's a complaint that I have about like a lot of reboots or sequel boots or whatever you want to call them. It's really frustrating when they forget important details that happened in the original or that was set up in the original. Sometimes it's on purpose because they want to retcon stuff. But sometimes it's just like, what are you doing? You clearly just forgot. Araki forgot, guys. That's why. Yeah. I've accepted that Avatar: The Last Airbender was lightning in a bottle, and no sequel or adaptation will live up to the promise of the initial show. Yeah, well, it does seem like a lot of people are reaching that conclusion. It's it's not as though I don't think they could do another show of the same quality as Avatar: The Last Airbender. They could. They 100% could produce another Avatar if, I don't know, if they had the inspiration to do so. And not even just like in the Avatar franchise, right? They could release a brand new show, brand new premise, and have like good 2D animation and cool flashy fights and good characters with good character development. They can 100% do that. And you can make it for kids. You can get like all those check boxes off that Avatar had. You put good moral lessons in there. You can do all of it. I 100% believe that they can make new shows that are of the same quality or maybe even better than Avatar. But maybe not today, you know? Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually I hope that the right team is put together, they have the right inspiration, they have the motivation to get it done. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it come into realization. But probably it's not going to happen today or tomorrow. Hey, finally catching a Friday with Dannphan. Well, welcome back. I guess it has been a while. Avatar Legends look fun. Yeah, you know, beat 'em up game, or it's not a beat 'em up game. It's a versus game. Sometimes I get those names confused. But yeah, it looks pretty enjoyable for what it is, right? But yeah, let me take a look. My friend was playing Marvel Tokon on PC, and it just about melted his CPU. Beware. Oh man, what a pain. Yeah. I'm just trying to catch up with the chat right now, so I'm kind of skimming through. Yay. Seven Havens doesn't interest me at all either. Fair enough. I looked at Seven Havens, the trailer. I don't think it looked bad. If it stood out on its own as its own show, I don't think it looks bad initially. The fact that it somehow is supposed to connect to Avatar is kind of the problem here, because it does not look Avatar at all. It looks like a completely different show with very different vibes. It was kind of the same thing with Korra, but it's even more true now with Seven Havens. It looks as far from Avatar as we could go, Korra was already like kind of teetering away from the vibes that we got from Avatar, but yeah. What are your thoughts on the upcoming Spider-Man manga? I don't know. I don't know. I think someone did post about that in the Discord. Let me see if I can pull it up. I know that there was another one, so it's kind of difficult to just type in Spider-Man manga and have it show up. Let me type in the date. That'll help, maybe. Okay, Marvel Comics launch a new manga line in Japan with Kadokawa for 2026. Wow, they do look like them anime boys. I think I'll wait for more news on this to drop. Right now, I feel like I don't really know enough about it. But, it's fine. It's whatever. I don't mind Marvel, working with manga publishers to make something. Especially if that thing that they make actually does turn out to be good, then it's all for the better. It's not something that I'm asking for, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it happening. You're right. Hey, Dannphan, loved your Common America video. Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I'm sorry that it took me so long to review that series. I still have to catch up with the there's a couple more issues that I haven't read to get fully caught up on the series. And there's also Common America crossover with Street Fighter, and I want to read that when that's ready to come out, right? Part of me is wondering, do I need to catch up in the main series first? Like, is this going to have a weird chronological thing? Am I not going to understand? Are there going to be new characters in the crossover event that I'm not going to understand who they are because I didn't catch up completely with the Common America series? I don't know. So maybe I'll wait to hear more about that before I just dive into reading it, because I do have to actually catch up with the other books. Someone else was saying, oh, well, you could always wait for the next omnibus. And I'm thinking to myself, can I, though? Can I really wait that long? Should I really wait that long? And maybe I should just buy the other issues that are out there already. Yeah, they could do it if they had artistic visions instead of only caring about money. Maybe. Yeah, I've been watching TV series from mid-2000s, and it's so much better. I feel you on that one, for sure. Would you like to be a giantess and destroy a city? What kind of random questions that? Sorry, I'm still catching up on chat. I'm so behind. But I just saw that one, and I was like, what? What's going on? What's going on over there? Oh, do you have any hope for the Scooby-Doo Yokai anime? It looks a million times better than Velma 3.5 years in with the screenshots. Well, I'm 100% positive it will be better than Velma. We don't have to, I would be really surprised if they made a new Scooby-Doo property as bad as Velma. That would be insane. But I think it probably looks okay. It'll probably be a suitable, like, B-tier Scooby-Doo movie, maybe. I don't think it looks phenomenal. I don't think it looks like peak Scooby-Doo movie, but I think it'll probably just be fine. It'll probably be okay. I do find it, like, a little bit funny. So much focus is on Japan now because of how much the anime industry exploded after 2020. Hey, I'm not really complaining. I completely respect it, especially when they're taking advantage of an industry that, the United States decided to just destroy within their own country. It's their own fault, If you're getting taken over by Japan, but it's kind of the fault of, well, not the government, but like the companies within the United States decided not to invest in 2D animation, not to try to make comics more mainstream. The closest that we've gotten to making comics more mainstream have been the cinematic universes. But really, it's just a focus on movies and TV shows and streaming services. It's not the same thing. So, yeah, I have my issues with what happened to the entertainment industry in America, of course. There are many gripes that I have. Ugh, can't even begin. But yeah. Low-key excited for the Street Fighter crossover, but I don't want to buy the story I missed. Yeah, no, I'm totally excited for the Street Fighter crossover. I kind of figured that eventually they would do something together with Udon, because Udon Entertainment, well, they've been Matt has been on the channel before. He's cool dude. 10 out of 10. But yeah, I always figured out they could probably like do a crossover and it would be super popular between the Common America duo and Udon. I always thought that was a pretty good idea. But yeah. Is it a comic? I thought they were adding Common America to their new game. No, it's a crossover comic. Matt, did you mean Mark? No. I said Matt because I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Or I kind of forget his last name. It's the with udon. Matt Moylan. Is that how you pronounce his last name? It's Moylan. He's Little Formers on Twitter, if that helps. He's been on the channel before. Obviously, the Common America duo have also been on the channel before. Almost everyone's been on the channel at some point. But not to brag or anything, but I'm kind of a big deal. I'd like to have more people on the channel, in fact. I'd like to have a bunch of new comic creators popping in on here. I think you're all great. For sure. But, yeah. No, it's supposed to be a comic. It's a thick comic from what I remember. Let me pull it up. Make sure I don't make any mistakes. Because Lord knows I make some mistakes when I'm just talking off the cuff. Okay, Street Fighter X, Common America. Yeah. 48-page premium one-shot. So they're going to wrap up the story in 48 pages. Now, that is bigger than the standard issue, but it sounds like it's just essentially going to be a really thick, floppy book. I don't want to say that is for sure what it's going to be, but, you know, that's kind of my impression when I hear 48-page one-shot, premium one-shot. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, it sounds cool. I will back it. I will be excited to see that come out. I think that's cool. How much do you know about Street Fighter that might help with your understanding of the crossover? You know, honestly, not much. Not much. I've played some of the games at the arcade. I have not really gone through story mode, right? And then I've watched the maybe one or two of the anime movies. Neither of which were that memorable, but they had some cool fight scenes, and that's the important part because it's Street Fighter, so it's gotta have the cool fight scenes, right? But no, yeah, my knowledge of Street Fighter is pretty limited. I will admit that up front. I could certainly do much better as far as getting my lore memorized. I'm excited to see it cross over, though. I think it'll be really fun. Street Fighter's story is a mess and mostly nonsense, but that's all the more reason why it would be totally possible to do a crossover with Common America and it not seem out of place. But no, I get what you're saying, though. I think a lot of the appeal of Street Fighter maybe doesn't come from the main story, but rather the characters themselves. That's my general impression anyways. I'm sure everyone has their own opinion on the matter. But I think the characters are so unique and fun, and you want to see them do fun and cool things. You want to see them fight, which is why the main thing I remember from the anime movies is just the fight scenes. I see cool character and they're fighting, I'm like, oh! They're jingling the keys in front of my face, and it's working. It's working. I admit it. But no. You made me think of something that I never even considered before about a Street Fighter collab. There's some appeal to the lore, though don't expect something deep. Fair enough. Fair enough, yeah. Also games, timelines all over the place. Yeah, that's a problem that you run into with a lot of these games that did not initially have a story, but then as it got a million different sequels, they kept on adding and adding and adding to the story. And, you know, you have all these different writers hopping on and giving their own personal take on the characters and politics and whatever is happening in the main storyline, you know? It's the same thing with Marvel and DC. It gets like really confusing and cluttered the more different writers hop on to give their own take on the matter. You don't have a very clear or concise or yeah, but that's part of the appeal of manga, I guess, is that it's usually just the one writer and you have it just through this one voice, you know, besides the editor and like the, you know, but even with the editor, like adding their own input into it, it still feels like you're getting it through a clear voice and you understand like where the position is. But there's so many American comics and obviously games and game sequels have this issue. Season 1s and season 2s will have this issue when it comes to TV shows because they will just fire the entire writing team on season 1 and hire a completely different writing team on season 2. Happened with The Walking Dead, right? It happens like more often, I think, than people realize. Then all of a sudden you're like, man, I thought I understood this. Insert IP here, but I guess I don't because all of a sudden everything's changed and the Fire Nation attacked. It all comes back to Avatar. We go back to the Avatar discussion now. But no, yeah, I get that feeling a lot when it's like, I think I would rather just have a clear understanding of the author, what their position is, and what they're going for with their series, rather than just having all these different voices constantly jumping on, making it feel so inconsistent. In a way, I might even say it's kind of similar with YouTube, right? Even doing YouTube content. When I listen to somebody's reviews on a thing, I don't want them to try to be unbiased. I don't want them to try to take an objective point of view. I don't want that. I want to have like a clear understanding of the person and the personality of the person who is reviewing it so that I kind of get where they're coming from when they point out these criticisms or say how they felt about a thing. You know what I mean? It just feels disingenuous to try to pretend that you're some sort of middle ground or some sort of unbiased source and that you are the projector of objective reality who understands what is truly good and bad. And it's like, man, relax. You are a person and you have your biases, and it's sometimes I think it's really good to just let that be known that yes, I have this bias over this thing. I am reviewing said content with that bias. This is how I feel about this trope. I don't like this and that in my storytelling, you know? I think it does give you like a better perspective of, oh, well, of course they feel that way about the story because of this, that, and the other thing. I don't know, just my take on the matter is I'd rather understand the voice where the criticisms or the content is coming from so I can have a better understanding of the content itself. What happens when the writers want to bring back Pink Kryptonite for a Superman and Batman crossover? I don't know, man. I don't know. What's going to happen? Man, knowing DC, they'll probably just like reboot and reboot as many times as they seem necessary. Because that's another thing, is when you get universe reboots, or they just say, oh, we're going to start telling stories from a completely different universe now. Different Earth. Earth 217 now. Don't worry about it. Everything's different. All the characters you loved are dead. Don't worry about it, though. Yeah. Let's see. I think you can be, to a certain point, unbiased if you knew nothing about a property, or not even sure if a distant point of view is always that good. Fair enough. Fair enough. I do think, to an extent, when I review a comic from a creator that I never even heard of before or don't know anything about, you could argue that that's maybe better because I'm not putting any bias towards them to be favorable or not favorable. Disfavorable? Is that a word? But you know what I mean. Like, I wouldn't give them extra brownie points just because I knew them or just because I liked their other content online. For example, if they're a YouTube creator. But I'm usually pretty, I don't know, I'm usually pretty upfront about whether or not I enjoy, like I've done the YouTube manga reviews, right? And the last YouTube manga review video that I did, I liked all of the YouTubers that I was reviewing the manga for. All of them are good YouTubers. But that's not to say that I liked all of the manga that they came out with. And I think maybe I just have the ability to make that distinction between liking the person versus liking the content. Maybe it's just because I'm so picky about what content that I like. I don't really know the exact reason for it. Some people don't make that distinction, and they will get very mad at you if you say that this YouTuber that they like didn't put out a good manga. And that's like a whole other can of worms, you know. We won't exactly cover that here, but you get what I mean. Hey Dannphan, you ever thought of reviewing My Adventures with Superman? I did post that one video about My Adventures with Superman when it first came out. And I watched the first, I think 2 episodes, or maybe it was just 1 episode. Maybe I didn't get that far. But I didn't like it. When I first watched it, I was like, this is not my thing at all. And you know, some people do like it. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion on that. It's very rare that I ever enjoy any like new superhero cartoon. I really liked the classic ones, and I remember it was like a couple years back, maybe even before I started the YouTube channel, I don't know. But I really wanted to watch a Spider-Man cartoon. For whatever reason, I was like, I want to watch a Spider-Man cartoon. And there was a new one out at the time that was on Disney XD or something like that. And I was like, I'm going to watch this. And it's going to be good because it's a new Spider-Man cartoon. They would never, ever make a Spider-Man cartoon bad. Of course they wouldn't. It's so easy to make a good Spider-Man cartoon. Right? That was my thinking. I was a fool. I was young. What can I say? Right? But yeah, I watched it and I was so distraught. I was so disappointed. I was like, oh my God, it's not that good. Oh, and then they make this super cringy joke and I'm like, ugh, no, how could you do this to Spider-Man? To be fair, a lot of people like that Disney XD Spider-Man cartoon. It's like, whatever. But if I watched the first couple episodes when I was in the mood to watch a Spider-Man cartoon, and it did not fulfill my need for Spider-Man. I was very disappointed. I personally like finding reviewers with similar biases to me. I'll still watch contrary or neutral voices, but discovering stuff is streamlined with similar-minded creators. True. If somebody thinks similar to you, then you can get a better impression of whether or not you would like the thing that they're reviewing, especially if you haven't seen the thing yet. If they're reviewing something that you have not experienced yourself, you haven't gone to the movie theater and seen it, and you're questioning, do I go to the movie theater and see this thing? It makes sense to then watch a review from someone who has similar tastes to you, because that'll give you a good impression of, okay, well, would I like it? Is there any like red flags or anything? Do you know who Kitomi Roho is? Kitomi Roho. The name does not sound familiar to me, but I'm not really good with names in general. Kitomi Roho. Nothing comes up. Nothing comes up when I search it anyway. There's like a Spotify link, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. Maybe I'll try Google. I'm always constantly switching search engines because sometimes... Oh no, nothing came up. Nah. Nah, I don't know who Kitomi Roho is. Sorry. Let's see. I'm still waiting for you to like a paid review comic. Okay. I haven't hated all of them. It's just like some of them are just kind of mid. It's not blowing my mind is the thing. And even the comics that I do like, I still want to give some critiques for, because just because I like something doesn't mean that like this is the best it can do, or I don't ever want to tell a creator, stop trying, you've peaked, because that's not very helpful. But yeah, most of the ones I've seen have been painfully honest, which I guess is good for us viewers. It's good for the viewers, and I think it's also good for the people making the comics, because a lot of them are coming to me who have not had any beta readers read their stuff, or people who did beta read their stuff not give them any feedback, which is usually like a red flag. Either because they're trying not to hurt your feelings, or because it didn't resonate with them. And that's a problem for sure. So I think it really does help when you have someone who's just willing to be brutally honest with you, even if it's painful. And trust me, I know it's painful, but it's so helpful. Oh my God, it's so helpful. I remember years ago when I was doing webcomics, my art and my writing, they were both shit. They were both shit, but my art especially was so shit. And I posted it like, I used to use Reddit a lot more I don't really use Reddit that much, but I posted it on some webcomic Reddit forum years ago. And I was like, I don't understand. What am I doing wrong, right? And there was one comment that, like, in a way kind of changed my outlook on life, which is so funny to hear, because, like, it was a brutal comment that was like, they said something to the, I don't remember the exact wording, but they said something to the effect of, I keep on seeing amateur webcomic creators post on this forum saying that they don't understand that their art is bad, and, you know, it's so disappointing. You know, they just like were super brutal, ripped into me, basically called me delusional. But it was so good, you know? It was so brutal, but it was so good, because it did kind of help me wake up a little bit and, you know, in a way understand more. I think a lot of people say don't compare your stuff to other people's stuff, but something that does help you understand whether or not your work is good in the beginning is to compare it to other stuff, to compare it to something that is professional, because then you can see just how far of a gap there is between good-looking professional work and your work right now. I'm not saying that you should drive yourself insane because there's such this big gap between, but you need to understand where you are when you're starting off. And it shows you that you have a long journey to go and you're not there yet. And there are different ways you can deal with not being there yet. but you gotta get past that first speed bump and, you know, recognize it first, I guess. Stellar Blade 2 girl. Oh, is that? I don't know why it wouldn't show up on the Google search. Maybe Google is suppressing Stellar Blade 2 girl. That's what it is. Yeah. But I feel the need to be honest, and I feel like I'm pretty upfront about that when I talk about doing the paid reviews and what you're going to get from me if I do the video review. Obviously, I will do an off-camera review as well, so you can get my thoughts without having it blasted online. It really just depends what people are going for. Sometimes people just want the signal boost. They just want their work to be talked about online. And it doesn't really matter if it's positive or negative press. So some people are just looking for the signal boost. Totally fine. I'll do that for them. No problem. And then other people are actually looking for the criticism part. And maybe it's better for the people who are just looking for the criticism part to just get the off-camera review. If you're looking for both, you'll get both with the video, of course. But yeah. It's been ages since I caught one of your live streams. For old time's sakes, maybe you can bring out the guitar and play the song. You wrote about Rudy erasing Snap. Oh my god, we got an OG fan. No one else here knows what you're talking about, but I do. Yes, it has been a while since you showed up in a live stream. Welcome back. Oh, man. This has been a pretty good live stream, I would say. We've had some pretty deep conversations. My goodness. Got to talk about conventions. Then we talked about Avatar. We talked about criticisms and the difficulty behind all that. It's solid. I like talking about this stuff. It's the only reason why I haven't ended the stream yet. Because I just genuinely like talking about, especially comics. Ugh. Imagine if I just made more videos talking about comics, guys. That would be crazy. What? Nah. I do have more comic reviews in the make. As far as future videos, I'm gonna hammer down, actually figure out posting soon. I gotta do the thrift store anime review one. I do. It feels like such a waste to have watched these anime DVDs and not do the thrift store anime review part 3. I gotta do it. I gotta sit down and just do it. I might have to rewatch them though, but that's fine. It's not that much to rewatch, so I'll just do it. Oh, what else? I do want to do another manga by YouTubers review because that was really fun. That was a really fun one. Yeah, those are, you know, as far as doing videos, those are the peak top 2 that are on my mind right now. Maybe some more comic reviews would be good. More indie comic reviews, because I got a bunch of indie comics and I haven't reviewed that many of them. Obviously, I did the Common in America one recently. That was cool. I liked doing the review for that and giving my thoughts on that. That was good stuff. Well, you know, another fun video idea I thought was talking about Christian anime. It's something that I've talked about a little bit on the live stream, but I also thought maybe it would be like a cool video to just do like a list of different Christian anime there is out there. Maybe it makes sense because there are a couple of Christian weebs here on the channel. I see you. I know that you exist. But yeah, that's a thought that I had. Ever read the manga Messiah? I've heard of it. I've heard of the manga Messiah. I haven't read it. But it's a good recommendation for sure. You know what anime I've been watching recently that I've been kind of enjoying? Blackjack. The original Blackjack, the super old one. There are some pros and cons to this anime series. maybe more pros than cons. The animation is quite nice. It's just very visually appealing. Oh my goodness, the drama and the tension with every episode, it's really gripping. Like it's very good at keeping your interest for a long time. Oof. I don't normally think of this as an anime review channel because I think I try to center things more so around comics and manga and, everything within the comic sphere. The webcomics, comics, manga. Not so much webcomics anymore, but you get the idea. But yeah, I might look into reviewing more anime. Who knows? Who knows? It's fun. We were doing the thrift store anime reviews, so it's not that out of the ordinary. If we're gonna cover like cartoons based off of comics, and then it also makes sense to cover anime since it's also based off of manga. I don't think it's that much of a jump, I guess. So that's fine. I have the physical copies. It's actually not bad. Rough edges, but adds to the charm. Yeah. No, totally. I totally get it. All right, guys. Let's call it here, I guess. We had a long, but I think very fruitful live stream this week. I feel good about this live stream. This is a good one. I don't know. I guess something maybe I should mention offhand because some people, I guess, are trying to bug me about it. You get like those sassy comments every now and then, right? People want me to make a video responding to the overthrow thing. I haven't watched it. I haven't watched the video, full disclosure. I could watch it. I think it'll probably make me upset for an hour, but I could watch it. It could happen. I don't know why it's so difficult for her to make a response that's less than an hour. Did you really have that much to say? But, irregardless, I don't think that it's that important right now. And I also have other plans in August. And I think the plans that I had in August are more important than getting into a shouting match online with somebody on the internet, especially somebody who would never enjoy my content to begin with, right? But that's that. I'll think about it, right? But don't expect anything anytime soon. It's not a priority. Priorities right now is getting the videos done that I should have gotten done a long time ago, like the thrift store anime review video. Focusing on these conventions and the project that I've been working on for this year. Those are my priorities. And maybe we'll have a project announcement sometime soon. So hang in there, guys. You'll have something to get excited about maybe soon. Until then, I'll see you next time for the next video. There's another video that's going to be posted next week, and that's going to be the Marvel's Voices Infinity comic. So that one's fun. And then after that, who knows? Well, maybe we'll take a break for a week and then come back with the thrift store anime reviews, because I might have to rewatch everything, to get it better. It took so long to come out with that video. It bothers me how, Dannphan, you're so lazy, right? But we'll get it done. So look forward to all that new stuff. And I guess I'll see you at the Mid-Hudson Comic Con if you're going to be there this weekend. Hey, feel free to stop by the table and say hi if you're going to be there. All right, that's all I got to say, I guess. Good night, everyone. Have a good Friday. Bye. See you next time.